the roof is removed, you're evicted. If you're late by a few days. But this is someone who has not paid rent for 12 years. And yet we want services from the county. And so the procedures of giving notice, etc., have been done. In fact, the tenant is not the gentleman here. The tenant must be your dad. Is your dad Mr. Elijah? Simon. The tenant on record is Elijah Atembe. Who is that?
That's my uncle.
That's your uncle. That is our tenant. And he's the one who gets the notice, not you or anybody else. Normally in these estates, Chair, and I'll tell you because I've lived in these places, we have tenants from the 70s or 60s, but the card keeps being passed on to a nephew, to a niece. It stays in the family. Chair, when we did this process, and I must say that it was a very difficult thing for me to do, having grown up in this city. But I'm the governor who you are the same people who want services from. If you see trash out here, I'm in trouble. I must collect revenue to maintain those same houses. So after this process, which followed all the, and my director will explain the CCTC, all the procedures, default rates have gone down. We have estates with zero default now. Revenue in this sector has gone up by 250%. Those houses don't belong to any individual, or to me even. They belong to, not the tenants, but to 7 million Nairobians. There is somebody who is struggling and diligent enough to pay rent of 2,000 in a slum. He would be happy to come and pay 9,000 in a two-bedroom house. But when you deny us that rent, and use politics, because many times it's political. So whether it is the MCAs or MPs say, no, at one was it or etc., I think it is not the right thing. On the matter of the people who were involved, yeah, first of all, I do not, I don't know how you can name somebody as a goon or not. You know, I don't know. Is it how they look? Debt collection is never a walk in the park. I've never seen friendly auctioneers. But where human rights have been violated on behalf of the county, I apologize. It is not right. But remember also, by not paying, you're violating the rights of other citizens to get services. So, Chair, I formed a committee, you know, and Chair, you know, I have many staff. I have 19,000 staff of different shades. I am one person. Some may go overboard, which is not right. Of course, the buck stops with me, but 19,000 people, you can imagine. They know what our aim is. Chair, you know what the county has been struggling with. When I got it, my revenue was at 8-9 billion. I've raised it by more than 50% to 14 billion because I need to serve you people, yourselves included. Chair, if the, you know, when I formed that committee, they went and did a reconciliation together with the MCA and Chegemora was there. There are those who they said, okay, Governor, here we cannot. If it's 900,000, in fact, I said anybody above 150,000, even if you give them a payment plan, they will not pay. But those, many of them have agreed on a payment plan. They have come, they pay slowly. We accept. It is not our aim. Those houses are not for profit. Imagine a house in Woodley, 3 bedrooms on half an acre, 17,000 shillings rent, half an acre property. If it was a market value, it would be 250,000 rent. But you find somebody, 17,000 per month on a 3 bedroom, has put an extension where he has tenants paying him 50,000 and has not paid us for 10 years. Should we smile with them? What do we do? I'll wait for the guidance of the committee. But the procedures were followed, and the response is here. This revenue is coming in to help you yourselves. If you look at the rents, we charge people 5,000 for 3 bedrooms. The estates where it's 10,000 for a maisonette. A maisonette in 2026, 10,000 in Buruburu. That's why I put it under social services. It's really a social service. It is not for profit. But people must pay their rent. And if you're not able to pay your rent, you come up with a payment plan. If you're not able to do that, you must leave that house. That house does not belong to you. It doesn't belong to me. It is for the people of Nairobi. Somebody who is deserving can come in there and pay rent. So that I put medicine in hospitals, or at least now we have FIF. But I can use it to clean the city, to do roads. It is the same people who cry about the potholes. So you can't have your cake and eat it, Chair, unfortunately. On behalf of the county, for those whose rights are violated, I apologize. Because it is the last resort. We do not want to use force against our people. Those are not only my voters, they are my neighbors. I grew up in Mangara, you know. I have relatives, even I can list here, who have been evicted. Because those are my relatives, not parents. I have relatives of former prominent people I will not name, who used to live in these estates. Yeah? From Jerusalem to Ziwani, you know, all of these freedom fighters. I pay rent for them, I help them myself because of the legacy. Tomboya's house is still there. Jaramogi's house is still there. You know, Tujasio's house is still there. But you can only do so much there. You know, so my appeal is let's all do our part. You know, you cannot demand services, you cannot demand, you know, to be provided for, you know, all of these things, and yet stay without pay. Chair, at some point there had been a waiver that was issued by the former governor, but it was issued unprocedurally. After this committee, I even accepted that waiver. I said it's okay, let's say that waiver was there. Then what is the default after the waiver? But going months and years without paying rent, I don't know how you guide the chair on how to do it. So the response is here. I have listed the example for Old Ngara, which is just one. I have more than how many estates? 34, 34 estates. Yeah. So this is just an example. The top arrears, number 13, is 1.4 million. 11 tenants were evicted on the 14th of May. The court order came on the 30th of May. So it was a functus official. The eviction had already been done. Impounded items were ferried to the Goretti Pound, a facility run by the county. Tenants who cleared their rent arrears were given their property to be able to claim them. So the question of compensation does not arise. If anything, we should auction that property to get our rent. If anything, but also we must be kind people. You know, there's a lady I will tell you, the family of let me not say because of privacy. In Jamhuri Estate, who looking at a situation, we just opted to help her relocate to the village and paid for her, bought her transport to go back because she cannot afford to stay in the city without rent. Even if you clear the arrears, it will be another arrears in 12 months. There are many specific cases I have personally intervened, and as I've said, I pay rent for some of these people. Chair, the evicted tenants were allowed to clear outstanding arrears before further action was taken, and it is not the first time. No one can say they don't know the arrears. The message, the monthly invoice comes to their phones, isn't it? On SMS. Everyone in our record. But the people on our record are the tenants, the tenant on file. Not just that you're staying there, but you're the person in our record. Chair, I think maybe I can leave it at that for any questions. At a meeting in 2nd December, Chair, it was resolved that we enter into more plans with defaulters owing less than 100K. And those above 100K were again eligible for eviction, not 150, actually, it's 100,000. Also, kindly note, Chair, kindly note, I think this is an important point. Whereas rent defaulters complain about evictions, there is a group of tenants who are compliant, who pay rent on time. We must have equity and fairness. The person who is paying rent is disenfranchised, but that was not paying. We have to maintain those houses. We need to paint the place. We need to make sure there are facilities for them. We need to make sure water is there. So also look at the other side of it. One person is working hard, struggling to pay. The rest says, you are Tanana, Kanjo is Vanakito. Let me stay there for 5 years, 10 years without paying. Justice goes both ways, Chair. And so I'll leave it at that. There's some 4 active pending court cases. There's a case, Republic versus Chief Officer, and others ex parte, Elijah Atembe, I think it's the same one, Atembe. There's Chege Maura and 2 others versus Nairobi City County. And then there's East ELC E040 of 2025. So those are still going on. Chair, let me leave it at that.
Thank you. Before I ask a question, I will give Senator Kathy a chance and the members a chance to clarify whatever they need to clarify from the response. Thank you, Chair, and I want to have a first bite because I have another meeting to go to. I just wanted, what Governor says makes sense in terms of responsibilities of tenants. The key issue in my petition was one, and I hope the committee can investigate this,
whether these evictions happened before or after the court order. It's something that this committee needs to find out. Two, these are human beings. That's where I began, with human rights, some of them grown in these homes. Whether there is any opportunity to actually settle these matters so that if they are to pay their arrears, whether there is opportunity for them to get housing. Three, the Lanaola case actually gave guidance around evictions. The evictions are supposed to be done in a manner that actually respects human rights. So where we breach those rights, however much somebody has breached, I don't think breaking a door, I don't think breaking their properties is allowed in law. So my key question is, what is happening as governor? What is happening, because these petitioners have, these tenants have come, meaning they're in distress in some way or other. What is Nairobi County doing about that? I hope that the committee can actually focus on this and help us.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kapi. I'll give the members a chance. I see the Senator from Nairobi, Senator Edwin Sifuna, has walked in. You can come on record. He's a friend of the committee and Senator of Nairobi County.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies, I came in late. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator Nairobi. I'm a friend of the committee.
Senator Asige, you'll have a bite of the cherry. Then Senator Mutata, if you have any query. And then Senator Manzo, and I'll be the last one. Then Governor, you note all the questions so that you give all the answers together, and we'll give MATIANG'I a chance.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the response from the Governor. To add on to what Senator Muma has also commented, I just wanted to understand, or rather have the Governor confirm when these evictions were done, and vis-a-vis the court order that was given on the 4th in May, because the petitioner who is here to represent the rest, Mark, who is in the room, speaks of his eviction happening in June, when the court order we have here on record as being in May. That's the first question. Second question is what the Governor has said about if there were human rights that were violated in terms of how people were evicted, loss and damage of property, so on and so forth, what has been described by our petitioner. He has said if that has happened, he apologizes as the Governor of Nairobi County. However, Chair, I think that there needs to be more than an apology, because an apology will not bring back any of these items or support or in terms of the injury that has been caused to the tenants. So I wanted to these human rights violations and the loss of property and the damage and loss of property, whether monetary or otherwise. And my question as well to Mark, the Governor has claimed that there's a Mr. Elijah that is assigned to your unit. I wanted to understand if that is correct according to you. And number two, if indeed this Mr. Elijah has been receiving the notifications from the county in terms of rent arrears and so on and so forth. And then also, you can add for me, Mark, by confirming how long have you been in that unit? Thank you.
Senator Mutata.
No, nothing to ask.
Thank you. Senator Manzo.
Yes, Governor, you are very much aware of this area. I'm aware of our family which lives there. I knew them in the 80s, in the 90s when we were in high school. The two parents died, so the children remained in the house, and then they didn't seem to have a better life, you know. And even one of the sisters who used to help them passed away. And I'm now talking of the socials, because you said these are like social responsibilities. Bearing in mind that the person you communicate with could be dead. I don't know whether there is a way you update who are we dealing with now, because these are families who have lived there for long. Now those children are out on the streets, And they were part of the reason Senator Muma and I, who happened to have known their parents, got very concerned, on this particular one. So how do you deal with that, so that such vulnerable people feel taken care of by the county? Because they were your neighbor, they feel very much that you are in office, you still remember them, and you're not likely to do this sort of thing to them. They can't access you. So I thought there is a way you need to upgrade the person you serve the notices, because if the person you have the number or you have the address is no more, it means you are sending messages probably to a person whose telephone now has been changed to another person. You know what Safaricom is doing, and therefore there is total breakdown of communication. And I thought your officer in charge of that would have been more humane by having a working party review the situation before the worst happens to these people, so that they are very much aware. Even if they are going to do a rally or look for the MP to pay for their rent, they need to seek help. Because once you throw them in the streets and their things are stolen, it leaves us with a very difficult situation, because we've got to help them as people who sort of know them, to make sure they have food or something for days as we follow this thing. And again also,
Which numbers is that?
I think the Nimbos, or Nimbo.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There are areas of 915,000.
I would expect, because their mother passed away a long time ago and their dad passed away a long time ago. So
what was idea to repay you?
So then there is at least in your government, that issue element of social, I thought it should come out, so that there is a social protector within yourself who will have betrayed situations like that, because I'm sure there are many across the city, so that then you don't have more vulnerable. You're trying to remove children from the streets, yet you are pouring more into the streets. So I thought that, and then now that there are matters pending in court, and now that this was executed without proper notices, and even with a court order on record, do you think that it's going to accrue damages eventually against the county, and it could be more expensive than if you manage the socials?
The court order was after.
So, okay, thank you.
And then the order came out, all evictions closed.
Governor, you'll have a chance after all the questions. You speak the questions, don't do the conversation, so you wait for your chance, you respond, and then we'll close it out. I want to give Senator Sifuna to ask his questions, and then I'll do the final questions and give Atembe. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I came in and had the presentation from Senator Asige referencing an apology from the governor. Governor, you'll forgive me because I was not there for that apology. So I will, and I will take it from the position that has been advanced by Senator Manzo about the humanity. Governor, you had a chief officer called Lydia Mathia. She's one of the people who has caused a lot of problems for the people of Nairobi and for your administration. Chair, on the day of the evictions in Old Ngara, I got a call from the area MCA, the Honorable Chege Maura, and I actually called Lydia, the chief officer for lands. I was begging her literally, Governor, to just give me 2 hours to have conversations with those people and see what we could do, including some of the interventions that are being proposed by Senator Manzo. And she's one of the most intransigent officers I have ever had to interact with from your government. And I say this with Old Ngara. I can hear you saying that the evictions happened before the court order. Governor, you and me know the situation in Woodley. That Woodley, people were being evicted by goons in the face of court orders. Your government has been notorious for disobeying those court orders. We have many cases in Woodley where people were, goons were just roaming around, removing people's doors and windows and so on and so forth. I remember the last time you were in the Senate, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And when we left the meeting, I was showing you that there is actually an eviction, another eviction going on in Ngara, and in Woodley, yes. And we were not even aware what the issue was, because I know that we have a phased redevelopment of the estate there. And I think the phase 1, people were evicted. There was a court matter. I know that at the end, after the court decision was in favor of your administration, yes, I appreciate that. But we have had conversations with you in these committees about how we relate with our people. When we were campaigning, and you specifically, you promised a city of dignity. I know that your government gives waivers for big businesses, for rent defaulters, and so on and so forth. It would not be a big dent in your administration's budget if we went case by case. For instance, the case of the Omindos that Senator Onimbo, yes, that Senator Maanzo has referenced. I am sure if we sit down with some of these families, we will understand where they're coming from, and we could do something just as human beings. Secondly, Governor, there is a big issue, and I remember when the residents of Woodley came before the Committee on Lands, we were discussing the question of the confusion that arose as to what exactly are people's arrears. You remember? Because there was this confusion, I think, during the COVID time when the City County of Nairobi issued a waiver, and this question of this waiver has been a source of a lot of grief for families in Nairobi. One of the things, governors, is I remember when we were having the conversation about the development of some of these estates, the question was, because you had said that some of the tenants who give up their units for the redevelopment would be given the units for free, and that the rent that they had been paying all this time would be taken into account. And yes, and the question was, how do you know how much these tenants have paid? Because the records at the county chair are so bad that you can't show me receipts, for instance, from the county side of how much money I have paid in this unit for all this time. And then the question of the waiver, when the waiver was announced, the tenants took it that the county was not going to demand rent from them. So when they are calculating their arrears, some of the tenants claim that that period where there was a waiver is not being taken into account. And I remember one tenant there who you agreed to sit down and do a reconciliation with, Sam Gashago in Woodley. And when you do those reconciliations with people, I mean, these people understand. And they even get to a place where they say, I am ready to sign a payment plan, you know, because everybody knows the state of the economy. And we exist to serve our people. And if people have been paying rent and they fell on some hardship, for instance, during COVID, or somebody lost a parent, or a family member was a breadwinner, these are things that are understandable. So the question of the so-called waiver, Governor, I will be direct with you. Just tell the people of Nairobi, is that thing real or was it not real? Is it being effected in the calculations of people's arrears or not? And finally, on the question of court orders, the people of Ngara, of course, claim that the court order came before the evictions. You have said that it was after, but in Woodley, Governor, you know for a fact that court orders were ignored in Woodley, even though the county eventually won that case. So please address those two concerns.
Chair, with your kind permission, I've got one.
He's not even finished, Senator Manson.
No, it's okay.
You can't do that.
He can go.
He can't. Okay. Have you finished?
Chair, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an
You
issue.
always have to speak through the chair. Senator Dan Manson. That's the last
With your kind
time.
permission, Chair.
You stopped him before he even finished.
My
That's not
apologies,
good culture.
Chair, it's okay.
Okay, speak through the chair now.
It's my seat.
No, he's not. Sifuna, abide.
With your kind permission, I have a
Proceed.
very important issue which has been raised here, that the accusation, Governor, is that there are people working for you at the county who have particular interest in this houses, and they are keen to evict people so that they put their own people. I don't know how you deal with that conflict of interest by your own officers. If you could also say whether you are aware of it and how you're going to deal with that. Because it convolutes the whole situation, because they are particularly interested and they want to evict so that they can put their own families there.
Thank you, Senator Dan Manso. Let me first give the governor the issues that. Let me give him. Don't worry. Let me finish with the issues that he has to look at from my end. Then I'll take the next round if we need to do that. Because also of time. First of all, let me finish. I've guided proceeding. Okay.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair. I think you have improved on your attitude that you are addressing. Today is
Excuse me, Senator Omutata. I have said I had given the procedure we were following, and I was walking by it. And don't talk down the chair. Let's have order now. I'm giving the governor.
With your kind permission, Chair, then you are likely to get a riot from our side.
I do not intend to have that. Let me give the issues to governor. Then we take the next round. I had given the guidance. I think members should also abide by what the chair had proposed, because we were moving very well before you interfered. Governor, I want to first thank you for the apology you have given for the behavior that you see your officers went by when they went for the eviction. And that, for me, the apology is very assuring also to the tenants, because two wrongs don't make a right. There may be rent arrears, but there would be no justification for forceful and violent evictions of the tenants. So it's assuring that you have given an apology for that. And following that apology, we would hope that your office would look at the restitution that you would need to do as an office, because the difference between the county and the tenants is that the county is a government. It will be more bound to follow the constitution. It's more bound to work by the human rights standards, so that they are not accused of breaching those standards, the human rights standards. And the other question, Governor, which you might need to look at, I think you may be a good man, a good governor, but you know the context of askari wa kanjo, si unawajua, how they treat people and how they have been accused both in Lavington, accused in the Gara estate. I think, Governor, you might need to also do an overhaul in terms of the approach that they are taking towards the tenants and the public, so that you do not have the issues that they are accused of here, of breaking doors, mishandling vulnerable human or tenants, human beings. I think it's important you look into that. And then I'm asking myself about the children, the minor children, maybe those who are left, minor children who are in those houses when evictions are being done, and very vulnerable persons. How are they being treated across the board in your management of the many houses that you have stated to the committee? You also need to ensure that those vulnerable groups are not being mishandled by the officers. And I think the officers who are with you today, the social housing officers, I don't know whether they have a policy on how they handle evictions. And then the final question is, these evictions happened both on 18th June and in the middle of May. So they were before the court order and after the court order. Those are the questions that you need. That's what is stated in the document of Atembe. Now you can proceed to respond to those issues.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, from my record, and I will look at it, the eviction was 14th of May, and the court order was 30th. I'll have to look further to see if there was a further eviction in June. Yeah. Chair, secondly, I appreciate all the questions, but I need your guidance. Do I answer those who have left? For the record.
Governor, you are addressing the county.
The committee is on.
That's what I'd like to know.
I have stopped
The committee is on.
I have stopped the riot, so we are free.
That's it. What they may be doing may not be okay, but the committee is on.
Chair, let me qualify what I say. For me, I am not happy at all when there's violence or any Nairobian is mistreated. It is not right, you know. Chair, we have cases where my officers are the ones who have been beaten up by tenants and attacked. It happened in Karioko, I think Ziwani, Woodley, Uhuru, where it's our officers who themselves are the ones who are attacked. Estate managers, in the performance of their normal work, are intimidated, are attacked. Some of them, when you call them to discuss, they arrive because they think that they can use politics to intimidate the county from doing its work. And you see, there's that role that we must serve. Yes, I want to serve you, but you also need to pay because the services that you want, and there must be a balance. So even as I apologize for the nature of how it was done, number one, there is no vote or budget line to compensate, especially a default. In fact, if we were more inhuman, we would auction their goods to recover the rent, because that is rent, that is income that has, and it always comes up in the auditors' questions for those in the public accounts committee, because those are receivables for the county at a very subsidized rate. I don't know where else you can get a 2-bedroom house for 9,000 grams. That is the guidance we really need. Number two, yes, Senator Sifuna, my senator, there was that issue of the waiver. We realized that it was not done procedurally, but we accepted it. We've actually accepted and we've done the calculations. So the waiver that was given in 2020? The areas that we're talking about are past that 2019 area waiver. Normally what we waive ideally would be on interest. Because you see, if you keep doing a waiver, there are people who say, let's not pay. Yet there's another someone else paying. And say, okay, let's not pay. After 4 years, we'll be given a waiver. So there are genuine cases, but some, it's impunity. The case of our friend in Woodley, he goes and says that these are our houses. You stay for so long that you feel that the house is yours. That gentleman can afford, him. But he owes us 1.4 million. Sorry, 1.14 million. That is rent of 5.6 years. Where will you stay in this country without paying rent? We all pay rent, all of us. Offices, homes. So for me, it is that balance, really. How to balance the interest of the county, because the county needs these resources, even to develop those estates. I'll give you an example. The 43 houses in Woodley are now yielding to another 1,975 houses through urban renewal. And Chair, when I said that everybody in our estates who will yield for us to build, Chair, we did something, even the courts asked the tenants, are you guys serious? Because all the tenants took us to court, because we were evicting them to build. We told them, number one, if you've been staying in our house, we will give you a house for free. Number two, for the period that you're away, we are giving you $1 million bob rent to pay elsewhere. The judge asked them, are you guys out of your mind? Which landlord gives you money to go stay elsewhere and gives you a house? I gave them allotment letters. They have an allotment letter. They can go to the bank today and get a loan from an allotment letter over a modern apartment. Because I was saying 43 houses are giving me 1,975. For me to sell those 43 would be very greedy. We look like the county is trying to do business. We're not. So it's a social service. Ask the 43, they have allotment letters. In Ngara, when you come to do the same, once we get to that place, the developer will come and give you rent and build. So apart from the issue of the altercation, which is very unfortunate, you've asked about my officers who then come and take the house. You're vulnerable if you don't pay. You're given that opportunity. Because if I work in the county and I live in Thika, I have no house. I work in the county diligently. I'm commuting, and there's a defaulter who's going to be removed for not paying. Of course, it is a natural thing. So how you protect these people is by helping them to pay. For us to have payment terms. The senator was explaining, there are some who I've been paying for them. Instead of being waivers, what we do these days, we make sure they know that it has to be paid. And so we pay. Because everybody will come asking for a waiver. You know how Nairobi is. Everyone will come and give us how their situation is, or there's no job, etc. We'll just say all the houses then should be free. What is the justice also for those who are struggling and actually are making it? There's someone who says, this month I don't have 9,000, but I have 7,500, and they pay. Someone like that would never be evicted. So it is the issue of that of that balance. If you look at the list, senators, and divide this amount of arrears by the rent, we're talking about hundreds of months in default. In Jamhuri, in fact, I really like what my senator one day told me. You know how these agencies say this road was done by your taxes. Jamhuri, where they've cleared all default, I am planning, and actually we've budgeted, to do a full makeover of the entire place. Paint, renovate, and put a sign there, this has been paid for by your rent. So that people value that when you pay taxes, it is actually to serve you. Right now, if you go to Huruma Flats, there used to be a lot of garbage there. There's no garbage. I cleared all those heaps because these guys are paying. If you go to Harambe in Buruburu, they are paying. This sector has now increased revenue by 250%, I was explaining earlier, which can be used to serve the people. So we formed committees. We have estate managers. The estate managers know, for instance, if somebody is deceased, who is now in that house, and they update those records. But also the responsibility of the tenant to come and say, my dad passed on, can I now get the ticket and come with a birth certificate? Can I get now the card? We call it the card to be under my name. And I think I implore upon my staff to be very humane with these people. So what happened, I formed this committee, including the area MCS for all these estates. They did the reconciliations. They removed the issue of what was waived, and finally came and said, now these 5 or these 10, it is irreparable. These ones just have to relocate. But these others have agreed on a payment plan. We invited them. They're always available to come to City Hall. But the court of the Senate will not stop you from paying rent. You have to pay rent. Rent has to be paid. We pay taxes. We pay for fuel. There was a question on the court orders that I would want to look at, because I know the case of Woodley, and yes, we won the case eventually. That was not done very, very well. That one I know, and I know even the guys who were involved. In fact, the day when he showed me, it was also an eviction of an individual. There are some who just say, how do you deal with impunity? They have notices. Somebody is staying in that 17,000 house, has an extension, is charging rent of 50,000, and is not paying us a rent of 17,000. Yet he is charging somebody in the extension behind his house rent. Is it fair, honestly? For those who are actually paying rent, But genuine cases, I am always, willing to look at. That's why I moved this sector from just housing to Tony, social services. Tony, if you just look at him, he's a kind guy. He's a nice guy, he has a heart. In fact, themselves are so happy because they feel they can approach him. He's the one who takes care of our children's homes. Yeah. Yesterday there's a girl who came to City Hall. I think you took her to Kayole, to our home for girls. We have 300 children. He takes care of Mji wa Huruma. Mji wa Huruma is our old people's home. I think you need to come as a justice committee and see how we're taking care of the old people. And something which he did last week touched me. What used to happen before, and I'm very ashamed to say this, for years, when those old people would die, they would be sent to city mortuary. And then later it is like a case of unclaimed bodies. And so when we dispose in bodies, they also disposed. We said no, we'll be doing a burial for them. A full burial ceremony. Even in fact, there's one we lost, was it last week? And I'm attending the burial. And we'll bury at Langata, we'll get some kids from our children's home to come and say this is my shosho or buka. So the dignity, So really we're trying to do that. And so sometimes understand, I'm also leading an institution of people who have been there since when I was born. So the culture issue of how you deal with people, it's continuous, 20,000 people. There must be one or two who go beyond. But the essence and the vision and what Tony keeps telling them, what Mbogo keeps telling them is, let's serve our customers. We said we want to bring a city of order, dignity, to how we serve our people. So we're still available, my friend, to look at your cases individually. I don't know if this amount, which I'm seeing here of 946,000 is the correct amount. Come to City Hall, do the reconciliation. But the responsibility to pay must be there. If you want a payment plan, we'll do a payment plan. But ultimately, let everyone know that you have to do your part for us to serve you as well. Sure.
Thank you very much for that.
Only one concern, maybe a suggestion to the governor. Is it possible then for cases are very vulnerable, owing out of this incident and others you are aware, that you can propose these families or children affordable housing so that they can become beneficiaries and they can have places to live, other than having been evicted and having gone through this, otherwise it doesn't make sense to have affordable housing, and then you as a governor, you're not able to propose some people there who you know are very vulnerable.
That's a very good idea, Jack. I like that. That's a good idea.
And let me give Mr. Atembe one chance to indicate whether, have you been paying rent? The rent obligation is something that must be done by a tenant. Have you been paying rent? Have you made efforts to reconcile? So that we also have the balance of responsibilities, what you're supposed to undertake, and what the county is supposed to do, and how the county is supposed to treat the tenant and manage the affairs of a tenancy relationship.
Thank you, Chair. I think the first thing I want to state is that court orders are not getting paid. Before you go to court and get an order, there is a basis. I have sworn on affidavit that the evictions took place on 18th June 2025. There was a court order issued on 30th May 2025. These figures they've given here, they're computed figures. You don't know where they're coming from. I want to agree with the governor. If I don't pay rent, evict me. I don't have a problem with that. Evict me. I have an issue with the figures. They're just computed figures. I have been paying. In fact, I have a letter from the county government saying that, dated 17th January 2025, saying that I do not owe the county anything. We have been telling the county, if you think we have rent arrears, give us a rent account statement. They have refused to comply. They are difficult officers at City Hall. Right? There's a house number 17, Onimbo. Governor is saying they gave us notices. I don't think we've seen any evidence of a notice. They did not. I have never received any notice. My father is a tenant, right? I have records showing.
Is he alive?
Yes, he's alive.
Also, he's getting the documents.
Let me explain, Governor.
Let him explain.
My uncle was the initial tenant, right? Once he left, he passed on the tenancy rights to my father, and the county is aware of this. Since they know they send rent invoices. Who do they send the rent invoices to? My father, Simon Atebe. So by that you know there's a contract. Okay. Why would they be sending rent invoices to his telephone number? And he pays.
So I think, Mr. Atebe, one of the issues we might need to do is reconcile. And the governor is here now, so there is no hiding anymore. He's the top at the county, so we can't say that the officers have refused. Now there is no refusing anymore. The statement has to be served.
Yes. Governor,
you
see the problem. The problem is why do these matters have to come to the Senate before you can agree to sit down with the tenant? You know, this is what breaks our hearts.
But is he Senator?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
It's not the first time.
Sometimes
it's not the first time. We went through this same process with Sakaja. Just have the guy over at City Hall direct the officers to do the reconciliation.
They have been doing that.
If there are payments, he also has records and can show that he has paid. You have rent statements. This is surely, Chair, that we require our governor to come to the Senate to tell him to sit down with his tenant. It's very unfair to us in terms of even utilization of our time. Yeah. And secondly, Governor, you know, sometimes I look at you when you're speaking. I really get impressed sometimes at how you just gloss over very serious issues.
Like what?
Like court orders being disobeyed by your officers, and you just say, oh, it's a terrible thing that happened in Woodley. Please, Governor, as a generation, you see, you have said yourself that there are people that you found there who are older than all of us. They started working for Kanjo years before we were born. They have a culture problem. But please, let's not gloss over some of these things. If somebody has gone to court and rightly obtained an order, you have to inculcate in your officers these values of respect for court orders. That is what the country of rule of law demands. Stop the eviction just for 2 days. I mean, and eventually you won the case anyway. So it is not okay for some of us when you gloss over some of those issues.
Maybe it's my language.
Yes.
Show
please, just the way that you took responsibility. And thirdly, Governor, you have powers because you are the executive head of the county. when there are serious complaints about some of the officers, like this Lydia, Maria, for years, Governor, you know the complaints we had, even from the way she was running the public participation for the regeneration program. I told you personally that I have a problem with her. And there were complaints from Woodley to Lumumba Estate to Jericho about one officer.
That's why she's no longer the chief officer.
That's what I'm saying. It took too long. She has caused so much pain. Just, you have the executive power. Whenever you see these complaints, because they come from a place of genuine concern, take administrative action on her. And she, I don't know how you are saying we can read Tony is a good man.
This guy.
But Lydia's face was not bad either. But she was a bad person. You know? So please take proper action when these concerns are raised, and especially when they come through the leadership that you are elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Sifuna. I am sure.
Chair, this process of reconciliation has been going on. Some people refuse to come for reconciliation. It's been happening. This committee we're talking about, I sat with the area, each MCA who has tenants in the area. This was last year, yeah, in December. And they said, yeah, we know these house numbers. They went to the people. Some completely refused. So if they come back to the Senate, you know, it is not because we're not doing the reconciliation. It is not. The department is always open. If you go to City Hall Annex first floor, you will find a desk for any reconciliations. But some people don't want to do it. So actually, we should not. In fact, the only reason I see value in coming to the Senate on this issue, more than accountability, is what everybody else can hear, what we are doing. It is for the sake of all the other tenants who may not know. These notices are stuck even in the estates. The notices are given in the houses physically. There is no way one person is not getting a notice. So for this specific case, for me, I guess let's go to City Hall and sort it. But remember, there's 9,000 other houses where I cannot do the reconciliation myself. You know, Chair, I don't think there's anything difficult to deal with. Let us address the issue of human rights, the responsibility. I think you put it very well. The share of, what do you call it, the balance? The balance of responsibility between the tenant and the landlord. But ultimately, as a steward of resources for the people of Nairobi, I will not allow a case of impunity. It is like, you know, it's like taking on source revenue actually. Because that revenue that should come to the city is staying with someone. That actually is a big audit question. When you have receivables going into hundreds of millions, hundreds, over many years. One stadium is like 200 million, and it changes the whole society. If everybody here paid, we'll be able to actually deliver services. Chair, on the matter of court orders, I don't know if it's closing, but yeah, I agree with the senator. I believe in the rule of law. And it is unfortunate that, you know, what happened despite, you know, that order. This case, from what I know, and I want you to investigate further, the eviction was done before the court order. When the court order came, eviction stopped. That is the information I have. If it is not true, I will actually do an independent investigation myself to get the exact dates. And you know, I know many of these tenants actually. I can even call them and find out what happened. But also let us, I want to take this opportunity to also thank the tenants who pay. I must thank them. Those who struggle, you know, because the economy is tough. But someone tries, in as much as our rents are heavily subsidized, there is no 2-bedroom of 9,000 in Nairobi or 3-bedroom of 17,000 on half an acre. But I thank them. In our finance bill, we have not changed those amounts. Those amounts should be, a 2-bedroom should be maybe 30,000, you know. But I like the idea of Senator Manzo to propose them, some of these specific cases, to be able to get affordable, especially when there's an affordable housing project near the area. So, for instance, Ngara, whatnot can come to Starehe, where there's affordable housing, or Ziwani, some of those in Makadara. We can put them in, we're doing affordable housing in Bahati, and also in Makongeni, where there was the railway estate. I think that is a brilliant idea. Yeah, so I'm grateful, Chair.
Thank you, thank you. I think we have now had the governor. You have something, Mr. Tem?
Yes, I wasn't done. I think I need to emphasize on the need to obey court orders, because he mentioned one case, Republic versus Elijah Tembe. There's a court order stating that the county needs to provide us with rent invoices, because we had been paying rent. We want to continue paying rent, but the county has said they're not going to give us any rent. They have completely refused to give us any rent invoices.
I think on that issue, the governor has pronounced himself, because what's going to happen from here, there is a reconciliation which he has undertaken to the committee that is going to be done, and I will expect that governor will do that reconciliation. Residents who may not have offices that they can use to push a bit of muscle into occupation of homes. So look into it and reconcile, and don't treat bad manners in a kind way. If they picked those houses, if they occupied them wrongly, after reconciliation, just get them out. Here, the governor, get them out and reinstate the tenants. I think so.
Chair, I still have a proposal. Now that this matter is before the Senate, and has been now it's also been good for you, Governor. You have taken stock of your governance. You have also communicated to your tenants. In this particular, situation, I thought for us to be able to make a report, which goes to the floor of the House, I thought some concessions here will go a long way to building a goodwill and information between your tenants and also information to the public. Could we then also fix a date with you when you are going to come back with a clearer report on what has happened? Like in the case of Atembe, he says in each one of them, in the case of Atembe, he said he has fully paid, yet he's under threat of eviction. Others have already been evicted. I told you I'm aware of the children of Mrs. Onimbo, who is deceased. And they are the ones who live there alone.
But if they can't pay, how do we keep it?
That's why you talked about the social bit. And that's why I'm also coming to the, we reconcile, because if you access case by case and then make sure also, we have something positive about this, about the vulnerables, because that's what I'm looking at, so that justice can be seen to have been done, and now that these people have come to before us, that we conclude this matter well, such that even the court cases can be withdrawn against the county, which are also very expensive, in a good way, and also to form a precedence for dealings in future, so that your people know, don't evict wrongly. And please also give us a report on the interested case, but where your officers are specifically interested. And finally, some of those houses are really in bad condition, they're very old.
But they're not paying. That's why. Why we repay and you're not paying?
So we agree rent must be paid, but can we have some things flashed out, and then we can have another date with you when we can come and know what happened case to case, because there are also some of these people who are saying they're paid. It's like the case of Mr. Atembe, who is here. Yes, paid. Yes.
Chair, I agree.
So you can give us the closing remarks on
just
that.
1 minute, Chair. I wanted to just say one last thing before the close.
Okay, Senator Sifuna, 1 minute, and then Governor 2 minutes to.
First, Governor, I have a problem with that attitude that if you have property and you're not receiving rental from it, that you can let it decay. It's one of the ways, by the way, that bad landlords use to force out people, because you just leave the building to fall into dilapidation, and yet it is your asset. I mean,
you've misunderstood me.
Just a minute. You still have a responsibility as because that's public property. We need to take care of those properties, so that even when you evict and another tenant comes in, it is in a habitable state. Number two, Chair, is my advice to this committee, because I'm not a member, I'm just a friend, that in future when responses such as this are put, we need to see the annexures themselves, because you're having a discussion here about which date what happened and when the court orders came from, and these documents are not before us. The governor should be required, when you say there was a meeting, for instance, of a committee, to even show you the minutes of that meeting, so that we understand that what he is telling us is actually the truth, so that we don't have this exchange like we're having between a tenant who says that they are fully paid up. And because the county is the custodian of all the records regarding this asset, you should insist on those rent account statements. In fact, in your final decision, Chair, let us insist that in a certain period of time, when he is expected to give back a report to this house, there has to be those statements for these houses to demonstrate to us, because we have had these conversations with our governor sometimes, and even we find that the tenants are actually telling us something that is not factual, you know, and they agree and they say, yes, you know, I will deal. It is only possible for us to go through that process when we have official records and documents. So all these responses here that have referenced meetings, have referenced account statements and so on and so forth, I would insist, Chair, that yes, annexures be presented before us, and the same to the petitioners, you know, because even for them, they have documents. It's showing me a memo here that the committee has not seen, so that if the governor is the one telling us, giving us misleading information, you are able to take a decision. And finally, too, as a way of AOB, Governor, maybe you can just mention, because he was before another committee of, I think, lands, on an issue regarding the land that was occupied by the Single Mother Association, just for the benefit of the people of Nairobi, whether the survey that you had said would happen happened. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know whether that should be within our mandate, but we could entertain, especially because of the single mothers, and I'm the chair of the WASA. That's the only basis on which I'll entertain that land for the single mothers. But Governor, as you respond, I also note on your response, and that's why it's good to send the response early, so the committee can analyze and can also seek for further clarifications. The response is not signed. Who owns this response? Who owns this report? Is it you? Can you sign it so that it can be admissible to the committee? It should always be owned by an officer.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to just correct my senator. We have continuous projects in these estates where we rehabilitate them. I can tell you about Huduma Flats, Karioko, we repainted, Kariobangi South, we renovate, we do Cabro. Well, the point I'm making is that it is limited. You know, it would be easier the more revenue comes to be able to do that, but we would not leave our properties just derelict and not care about them. In fact, some of them have completely changed. If you look at photos before 2022 and now, you know, Buruburu, etc. We've done Cabro, we've done, you know, certain fixtures, and you know, sorting out the water issues, etc. And we'll continue to do more. Chair, really, the information I'd like to make is that everybody must bear their responsibility. You know, Chair, is the same way when we're dealing with a clean city, and we put bins and people are littering outside the bins. You know, in some countries you'll never see such a thing. Someone throwing banana peels outside the car or paper. You know, there's haki yetu, but there's also wajibu wetu. You know, and that wajibu wetu is important for the burden of responsibility on both sides. I would like all tenants to know that the space for reconciliation is open. And they need to come to city hall or go to the estate managers. Every estate has estate managers. But also what I will not tolerate is anyone harming public officers physically, who come to check on the houses, who come to, you know, give notices. That is impunity. I have to also protect my officers. People have been physically harmed. We've had cases of people in hospital for long periods of time because of being attacked by goons also. And so when they decide to come and they reinforce, because any eviction we do with the police and inspectorate askaris, it is a very bad thing to do. ideally, we should not be like that. I do not know a single case, and after the reconciliation is done, Senator Manzo, of wrongful eviction. I don't think anyone in their right mind would be able to go and remove someone who has been paying. That is unconscionable. You know, it is completely wrong. In fact, I'm being shown photos of injured officers by my chief officer. Who will speak for them? We must also speak for those officers. They're also Kenyans. They're also citizens. You know, so they say when you come for equity, you come with clean hands, isn't it? We must also have that. Yeah. Chair, we are ready to. We can provide statements for all houses. It is in the system.
Governor, I think for the petition purposes, you first provide for the committee so that you don't send on a wild goose chase. These specific tenants who are within this petition, that's what we need, so that it's not elongated and we have a time, we have a closure of issues.
The statement is...
so we can have that within maybe 2 weeks or 1 week.
The statement can be printed in an hour. The system. How long
for purposes of you will come back to present it.
Okay.
So maybe in a week's time, we'll give you 7 days.
Sure. Yeah, I'm all right.
7 days then, because you say it's ready within an hour. For purposes of committee scheduling a meeting, we can do it within 7 days, so that we also close the petition, which has been long-standing, and we give answers to matters of tenancy. We should be able to give expeditious solutions to the issue. And finally, Governor, I believe you have you finished with your statement?
Not yet.
Because we want to wind up. Okay, finished. Then I can wind up.
So I'm just affirming that we'll always implore upon officers to treat the citizens with dignity and with respect, and we expect the same from the citizens, to also treat officers in the same way. In fact, many people ask why the old city council cars had the grills. Why? It was just to protect the officers, because if you go somewhere you're stoned. Even fire engines. A fire engine goes to respond to a fire and could be delayed because it was respond to another fire. Then the officers are attacked by the citizens. It is completely wrong, and I think we should call it out on both sides, not just on the side of the county. These houses they belong to the people of Nairobi. They don't belong to the tenant or to the county per se. Somebody else would want an opportunity to be in that house, and they can pay. And so, Chair, we will follow your guidance. I know it's an old petition, that's why maybe many of the things have already been done. We'll update the response. We'll attach those minutes and statements, the records that you require, for us to also know. And the Senator said something, my Senator. Sometimes, one inch can be cheap. And they will lie to you and say, oh, I've not been given a notice, but when you provide the evidence, they say, okay, it is true, but to idea. So when you get to the to idea conversation, that's where now we remove legalese and just talk as human beings and say, okay, how do we help you? And have that discussion. But if it's straight legalese, I told you guys, don't go to court. Their case was dismissed with costs. They're supposed to pay us. And of course, now as their governor, we left that. But it was dismissed with costs. So sometimes it's not about being right or wrong, but being kind and human. So let's leave out the legalese. If you're a tenant, you need to pay rent. If you're a challenge of paying rent, let's see how we can address it, because you can have a bad precedent. Based on how you treat this, others will stop paying. Also look at those who are struggling to pay. Some don't pay the full amount. The rent is 7,000. I said, this month they're going to 4,500. But next month, I will make it plus the difference. Now that person cannot be treated the same way as someone who says, I am not paying, can't pay, won't pay. I have an extension, people are paying you. In fact, those extensions will just come to a point we have to remove all of them. Because also there's a public health issue. And I would invite you to come visit some of those estates and see. So with that, I submit. Chair, again, please accept the apology of the previous meetings, and I've explained the problem of correspondence. Charles is my friend. Charles will be sending me WhatsApp also, because if he goes to COG or to the registry, just let me know that there's a meeting. I'm happy to come. It's just across. Chair, thank you.
So thank you.
Chair, from
Sorry, there was an AOB by Senator Sifuna. The survey has been done. There's a team the CEC appointed. They're ongoing and we'll be able to report back. Because when we were here, it's very interesting. There's a lady who called me, former MCM, and said, Governor, ask that petitioner where are the 60 women whom they started this association with? Because one of them is Amara. There's a backstory around that petition. So we'll come and report back.
Governor, please make sure you take care of the single mothers and if they can be.
I love the single mothers.
In the sense of getting care to
Senator, I thought also you love it.
Let me clarify what this taking care entails, especially seeing who the recipients of that information are. The taking care is to mean taking care of their proprietary interest in land and ensuring the survey is done, that women can be owners of properties and can be holders of titles, so that we can move women from being holders of under 6% of titles in the Republic of Kenya.
But they're very safe with me, child. Single mothers.
So there's an LB related to Ngara, a place called Jabavu, a story covered in the newspaper, where you issued a title to somebody to develop houses there for residents. You issued a title and the person used the title to borrow 1.9 billion. Kenyans were asked to buy. You know the way you buy empty spaces, people build. Now many years have gone and there's nothing. Probably why will you be giving a developer free land and free housing? Which houses we should be giving to the vulnerable in the same area? Because this is in Ngara itself. I don't know
we govern in, or rather, governments exist in perpetuity. When those titles was given, I was here in the Senate. I was a senator. Yeah. But now what do? You know, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. I brought this developer, told him he must complete the project. In as much as it was given wrongfully and procedurally, you must be pragmatic that the project actually ends. He has actually made a lot of progress. That one is almost done. Where we have a bigger problem is Pangani. There was a problem within the consortium. We've negotiated even to get offtake from affordable housing. So that, you know, people actually paid money in anticipation to own these houses. So they're also back on site. So they're back on site. But that was unprocedural, how that address was given. In fact, there's another one I am looking at, because, you know, sometimes people do funny things and they backdate and say, oh no, this happened during the city council time. But you can always tell when it's a fake thing. You know, in some area, one of the pension funds is claiming we gave them an estate, and I don't agree. I know Mariakani was done, but not Ziwani. That one is a long con, and I would never accept. I don't like the issue of asset swaps, because these assets, they grow in value so much, and there's more you can do. We have other ways of sorting out pension debt. So I don't like what was done in Marekani, and the claim that is being made is also wrong. But for Jabavu, it is a group, HAS, that are building it. Actually, even went and took the mayor of Paris there when she came to visit last year. It should be completed actually by end of this year, if I'm not wrong, maybe even sooner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It is good when you win. And sometimes, to be human is to win. Not to win just for the win. To be human is to win. As you do roll out the right to social housing, to win is to be human. Remember that. Yeah, thank you.
And just an update for your record. When I became governor, I found 8,991 houses in Nairobi. Already we have contracts that are bringing us up to 73,000 new units through our urban renewal, let alone the affordable housing being done by the State Department with a levy. Ours is pure PPPs, you know, public-private partnership. We look at the value of the land, you get your units. We've just advertised, I think we awarded another lot last week of these houses. So it'd be good to note that there's that increase in the housing estate.
Social housing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And in the social housing, what we would also ask you, because you know you're having shelters for children, vulnerable children, you have these vulnerable women, you must secure a percentage of your social housing to meet the needs of the vulnerable, which is really seen as vulnerable, so that even the pricing meets the context of the vulnerable population. Thank you. Dignity in housing. Thank you. I think with that, we have concluded. We're going to ask the governor to bring back the response within 7 days so that we can give you a date to close this petition, so that we can now have a report, substantive report for the tenants. But once again, as you do the reconciliation, remember being human is what you will call a win, and that's what will secure you the second term in 27 when you go to campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that marks the end of this meeting.
Thanks, yeah.
In spite of
kuandika kukiwa na kesi. Hii inaweza itishwa kwa transcription. Ukiwa pekee.
Mwambia kuone za maji.
Tumepatiwa oni. Pata.